Sherlock Holmes had in a very remarkable degree the power of detaching his mind at will. For 2 hours the strange business in which we had been involved appeared to be forgotten, and he was entirely absorbed in the pictures of the modern Belgian masters. He would talk of nothing but art, of which he had the crudest ideas, from our leaving the gallery until we found ourselves at the Northumberland Hotel. "Sir Henry Baskerville is expecting you," said the clerk. "He asked me to show you up at once when you came." "Have you any objection to my looking at your register?" said Holmes. "Not in the least." The book showed that 2 names had been added after that of Baskerville. One was Theophilus Johnson and family, of Newcastle, and the other Mrs. Oldmore and maid, of High Lodge, Alton. "Surely that must be the same Johnson whom I used to know," said Holmes to the porter. "A lawyer, is he not, grey-headed and walks with a limp?" "No, sir, this is Mr. Johnson, the coal owner, a very active gentleman, not older than yourself." "Surely you're mistaken about his trade." "No, sir. He's used this hotel for many years and he's very well known to us." "Ah, that settles it." "Mrs. Oldmore, too. I seem to remember the name." "Excuse my curiosity, but often in calling upon one friend, one finds another." "She is an invalid lady, sir. Her husband was once Mayor of Gloucester. She always comes to us when she's in town." "Thank you. I'm afraid I cannot claim her acquaintance." "We have established a most important fact by these questions, Watson," he continued in a low voice as we went upstairs together. "We know now that the people who are so interested in our friend have not settled down in his own hotel. That means that while they are, as we have seen, very anxious to watch him, they are equally anxious that he should not see them. Now, this is a most suggestive fact." "What does it suggest?" "It suggests... Ah! Hello, my dear fellow! What on earth is the matter?" As we came round the top of the stairs, we had run up against Sir Henry Baskerville himself. His face was flushed with anger, and he held an old and dusty boot in one of his hands. So furious was he that he was hardly articulate, and when he did speak, it was in a much broader and more western dialect than any which we had heard from him this morning. "Seems to me that they're playing me for a sucker in this hotel," he cried. "They'll find they've started to monkey with the wrong man unless they're careful. By thunder, if that chap can't find my missing boot, there will be trouble. I can take a joke with the best, Mr. Holmes, but they've gone a bit over the mark this time." "Still looking for your boot?" "Yes, sir, and I mean to find it." "But surely you said it was a new brown boot." "So it was, sir, and now it's an old black one." "What? You don't mean to say—" "That's just what I mean to say. I only had 3 pairs in the world, the new brown, the old black, and the patent leathers, which I am wearing. Last night they took one of my brown ones, and today they have sneaked one of the black. Well, have you got it? Speak out, man, and don't stand staring." An agitated German waiter had appeared upon the scene. "No, sir, I have made inquiry all over the hotel, but I can hear no word of it." "Well, either this boot comes back before sundown, or I'll see the manager and tell him that I'll go right straight out of this hotel." "It shall be found, sir. I promise that if you have a little patience, it will be found. Mind it is, for it's the last thing of mine that I'll lose in this den of thieves." Well, Mr. Holmes, you'll excuse my troubling you about such a trifle." "I think it's well worth troubling about." "Why, you look very serious over it. How do you explain it?" "I just don't attempt to explain it. It seems the very maddest, queerest thing that ever happened to me." "The queerest, perhaps," said Holmes thoughtfully. "What do you make of it yourself?" "Well, I don't profess to understand it yet. This case of yours is very complex, Sir Henry. When taken in conjunction with your uncle's death, I am not sure that of all the 500 cases of capital importance which I've handled, there is one which cuts so deep. But we hold several threads in our hands, and the odds are that one or other of them guides us to the truth. We may waste time in following the wrong one, but sooner or later we must come upon the right. We had a pleasant luncheon, in which little was said of the business which had brought us together. It was in the private sitting room, to which we afterwards repaired, that Holmes asked Baskerville what were his intentions. To go to Baskerville Hall. And when? At the end of the week. On the whole, said Holmes, I think that your decision is a wise one. I have ample evidence that you are being dogged in London. And amid the millions of this great city, it is difficult to discover who these people are or what their object can be. If their intentions are evil, they might do you a mischief, and we should be powerless to prevent it. You did not know, Dr. Mortimer, that you were followed this morning from my house? Dr. Mortimer started violently. Followed? By whom? That, unfortunately, is what I cannot tell you. Have you among your neighbours or acquaintances on Dartmoor any man with a black, full beard? No. Oh, let me see. Why, yes. Barrymore. Sir Charles's butler is a man with a full black beard. He is in charge of the hall. How can you do that? Give me a telegraph form. Is all ready for Sir Henry. That will do. Address to Mr. Barrymore, Baskerville Hall. What is the nearest telegraph office? Grimpen? Very good. We will send a second wire to the postmaster of Grimpen. Telegram to Mr. Barrymore, to be delivered into his own hand. If absent, please return wire to Sir Henry Baskerville, Northumberland Hotel. That should let us know before evening whether Barrymore is at his post in Devonshire or not. That's so, said Baskerville. By the way, Dr. Mortimer, who is this Barrymore, anyhow? He is the son of the old caretaker who is dead. They have looked after the hall for 4 generations now. So far as I know, he and his wife are as respectable a couple as any in the county. Yes, Sir Charles was very fond of talking about the provisions of his will. That is very interesting. There were many insignificant sums to individuals, and a large number of public charities. The residue all went to Sir Henry. And how much was the residue? £740,000. Holmes raised his eyebrows in surprise. I had no idea that so gigantic a sum was involved, said he. Sir Charles had the reputation of being rich, but we did not know how very rich he was until we came to examine his securities. The total value of the estate was close to £1 million. Dear me! It is a stake for which a man might well play a desperate game. And one more question, Dr. Mortimer. Supposing that anything happened to our young friend here, you will forgive the unpleasant hypothesis, who would inherit the estate? Since Roger Baskerville, Sir Charles's younger brother, died unmarried, the estate would descend to the Desmonds, who are distant cousins. James Desmond is an elderly clergyman in Westmoreland. Thank you. These details are of great interest. Have you met Mr. James Desmond? No, Mr. Holmes, I have not. I've had no time, for it was only yesterday that I learned how matters stood. But, in any case, I feel that the money should go with the title and estate. That was my poor uncle's idea. How is the owner going to restore the glories of the Baskervilles if he has not the money enough to keep up the property? House, land, and dollars must go together. Quite so. Well, Sir Henry, I'm of one mind with you as to the advisability of your going down to Devonshire without delay. There is only one provision which I must take. You certainly must not go alone. But Dr. Mortimer returns with me. But Dr. Mortimer has his practice to attend to, and his house is miles away from yours. With all the goodwill in the world, he may be unable to help you. No, Sir Henry, you must take with you someone, a trusty man, who will always be by your side." Holmes laid his hand upon my arm. "If my friend would undertake it, there is no man who is better worth having at your side when you're in a tight place. No one can say so more confidently than I." The proposition took me completely by surprise, but before I had time to answer, Baskerville seized me by the hand and wrung it heartily. "Well now, that is real kind of you, Dr. Watson," said he. "You see how it is with me, and you know just as much about the matter as I do. If you will come down to Baskerville Hall and see me through, I'll never forget it." The promise of adventure had always a fascination for me, and I was complimented by the words of Holmes, and by the eagerness with which the baronet hailed me as a companion. "I will come with pleasure," said I. "I do not know how I can employ my time better." "And you will report very carefully to me," said Holmes. "When a crisis comes, as it will do, I will direct you how you shall act. I suppose that by Saturday all might be ready?" "Would that suit Dr. Watson?" "Perfectly." "Then on Saturday, unless you hear to the contrary, we shall meet at the 10:30 train from Paddington." We had risen to depart, when Baskerville gave a cry of triumph, and diving into one of the corners of the room, he drew a brown boot from under a cabinet. "My missing boot!" he cried. "May all our difficulties vanish as easily," said Sherlock Holmes. "But it is a very singular thing," Dr. Mortimer remarked. "I searched this room carefully before lunch." "And so did I," said Baskerville. "Every inch of it." "There was certainly no boot in it then." The second: "Visited 23 hotels as directed, but sorry to report, unable to trace cut sheet at times. Cartwright." "There go two of my threads, Watson. There is nothing more stimulating than a case when everything goes against you. We must cast round for another scent." "We still have the cabman who drove the spy." "Exactly. I've wired to get his name and address from the official registry. I should not be surprised if this were an answer to my question." The ring at the bell proved to be something even more satisfactory than an answer, however, for the door opened and a rough-looking fellow entered who was evidently the man himself. "I got a message from the head office that a gent at this address had been inquiring for number 2704, said he. "I've driven my cab this 7 year and never a word of complaint. I came here straight from the yard to ask you to your face what you had against me." He said that he was a detective, and he offered me 2 guineas if I would do exactly what he wanted all day and ask no questions. I was glad enough to agree. First we drove down to Northumberland Hotel and waited there until 2 gentlemen came out and took a cab from the rank. We followed their cab until it pulled up somewhere near here. "This very door," said Holmes. "Well, I couldn't be sure of that, but I dare say my fare knew all about it. We pulled up halfway down the street and waited an hour and a half. Then the 2 gentlemen passed us, walking, and we followed down Baker Street and along." "I know," said Holmes. "Until we got 3/4 down Regent Street." "Colour of his eyes?" "Nah, I can't say that." "Nothing more that you can remember?" "No, sir, nothing." "Well then, here is your half-sovereign. There's another one waiting for you if you can bring any more information. Good night." John Clayton departed chuckling, and Holmes turned to me with a shrug of his shoulder and a rueful smile. "Snap goes our 3rd thread, and we end where we began," said he. "About what?" "About sending you. It's an ugly business, Watson. An ugly, dangerous business. And the more I see of it, the less I like it. Yes, my dear fellow, you may laugh, but I give you my word that I shall be very glad to have you back safe and sound in Baker Street once more.
Thank you for watching this video. Please like, share and subscribe to the channel to see the latest videos. Thank you.